What is the state of the interior design industry as I'm recording this in 2024? Find out. Hey kids, and welcome to Designed by Wingnut Social. I'm your host, interior decorator Darla Powell, and on today's show we have an amazing guest, Gail Doby. If you've been living under a rock, you might not know Gail Doby, but if you've been in the interior design industry for 5 minutes, I'm sure you are familiar with the inimitable Gail Doby. If you've ever gone to High Point, if you've been on Facebook groups, you know that she is an amazing and an effective and brilliant coach for interior designers and the ilk. Gail Doby has her own podcast, the Creative Genius Podcast, in which I was honored to be a guest recently. Check that out on wherever you get your podcast. And here is the deal with Gail Doby for the uninitiated. Gail Doby is the co-founder of Pearl Collective, an interior design business consultancy that has helped designers, architects, and other creatives increase their profitability by up to 512%. Gail does more than help her clients wrangle decimals on a budget sheet. After nearly 20 years of experience running her own Denver-based design firm, plus a BSBA in finance and banking, that explains a lot. She's obsessed with sharing innovative ways to overcome the business roadblocks, challenges, and detours creative entrepreneurs face. Wingnuts, help me in welcoming Gail Doby to the show. Hey there, Gail Doby. Welcome to the show. How the hell are you?
I'm great. How the hell are you?
I am doing magnificent. It is so good to see you again. Of course, I was just recently on your excellent podcast. Go ahead and plug that here.
Well, thank you very much. It's Creative Genius Podcast, and we absolutely loved having you on there.
Well, thank you. I absolutely love being on there, and I absolutely love having you on here. So let's just all have a
Let's do it.
Group hug.
The love fest.
You're just back from High Point Market, North Carolina, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And you have the energy to do this. So God bless you. How was it? How was Market this year?
It was
this fall?
Insane. I was on, I don't know, our team was on 6 panels, and I had a keynote and shopping for my new house and doing all those things. So I was super busy the whole time. We had a lot of social things too. So we had absolutely no breathing.
Yeah. I have to get back. I miss going and doing the panels and the moderating and stuff. I really do need to get back there. It was so fun. And we need to meet up there.
We should.
All right, but enough of our little coffee talk here.
Of course.
So when you were there, you had some new and exciting things come on. You have some partners. So of course, the well-known Business of Home and the Interior Talent. Mm-hmm. You did a survey of what?
We did a survey of about over 1,100 designers. So this was, and we also had manufacturers this year. We did a section on manufacturers. And we've been doing this off and on for several years. So we started this back in, I think it was 2009 was our first one. And we took a breather after about 2015. And then we came back 3 years ago and started again.
I see.
And we just feel like it is so critically important to have industry data, and especially during these times that have been very weird the last year and a half, 2 years. Yeah. And which I know we're going to chat about today, but I think that because we've had so much turmoil in the economy and with interest rates and just the cost of living and all these different things, plus we're coming off of the COVID coma, is what I call it. So everybody had money until about a year or two after that was over, and then all of a sudden that stopped. And the other thing that happened is a lot of people were spending their money on travel and everything else but their homes. So it really has affected our industry. And I felt like it would be a really good topic for us to talk about today, because this is really one of the first times we've had the opportunity to talk about this other than at High Point Market.
All right. So what were some of the results that you saw from the survey? And I would have to say that probably the one you started in 2009 was a doozy.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. I remember those times. That was pretty bad. God. Yeah, and it is crazy. And as we're recording, today is actually election day, right? So I'm really curious to see. We're having an election party. We're going to track and see what happens. Hopefully it's not dragged out. So tell me what you are seeing is going on with all of this weirdness. That is the perfect way to put it. Weird.
It is weird.
Yeah.
I think Waltz was using that and he was talking, or somebody was talking about it. Anyway, that was during the election period.
Sure.
But the weirdness is that, again, that was what I was mentioning. And I started seeing this about 2 years ago. I was talking with a really good friend of mine that keeps up with all the economic news, and we were talking about the T-bill rates had changed right around October 20th of 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And after that, I could see the difference with our clients. I could see that their pipelines were starting to slow down. They were getting less calls. They were getting less projects that were really good projects. And I think one of the most substantial changes I've seen in the last 18 to 24 months is that the projects that designers are getting are smaller, and the clients are getting more difficult, and they are shopping them more and more and more.
Really?
And the clients are still unsure how to work with a designer, which is interesting to me, but it really is just one of those things that people don't know until they've had that experience of working with a designer. So they might come in and ask for better pricing, or they may say, yeah, but I can get this online and it's cheaper. And they've got to be able to talk to that, because it is a really big issue to have people shopping you.
I'm curious, when you're surveying, we'll just stick to the interior designer side for now. Do you keep like a percentage of how many of these designers are newer in business? How many are more veteran? The years? Okay. Has that changed? Or is that percentage ratio still there? Pretty
much the same. We follow some other data as well, besides our own survey, which is more about the business of design. Mm-hmm. We also follow some data from a good resource called BizMiner. And we are seeing that about half of the companies are less than $500,000 in revenue. Mm-hmm. And this is out of about 20,000 different firms that are in the U.S. There are probably well over 100,000 designers in the U.S. But as far as firms, it's probably more like 20,000, a little bit over 20,000. The makeup has not really changed a whole lot. And the people who were taking the survey were a lot of experienced people. We didn't have a lot that were inexperienced people. So we were hearing from people that are very interested in the data and wanted to participate and help get some really good data that they could hear about later.
Do you think that, this is an obvious question, but I'm curious if we could dig deeper on that the biggest contributing factor to that is the interest rates and inflation and people just really being nervous about the election and what that's going to look like? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Since we are having this conversation on election day.
Very auspicious, isn't it?
Tomorrow could be different, right? Next year's survey could be a whole other animal, hopefully for the better, right?
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, because I have talked to friends and acquaintances in a very anecdotal way that they are waiting to make some larger purchases on not for interior design, but in my personal life. So they want to see, I'm waiting on this investment. I want to see what happens with the election until after the election. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to have you back when we see what happens.
Yeah, well, it's so interesting. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things. And here's what's really interesting to me, because right around the time our data came out and we put the report together, the interest rates dropped 0.5 point. And then we've had a statement from the Fed that they're going to take 2 more drops. So we'll go down another 0.5 point. And then we're going to have drops next year. So they've already forecast for us that the interest rates will go down. Yeah. So with that being the case, we're looking at as much as, let's say, 1.25% to almost 2%. Nice. That we could be down in interest rates by the end of next year, which is very positive, because I tell you, where I have seen some of the most, again, some of this is not actually data from the survey, but also from conversations I have with some of the people I know. But people that were doing the commercial business it really cratered for a long time. Mm-hmm. Because the cost of building has gone up. It's not just the cost of building, but the cost of the money. Mm-hmm. So it's a double whammy for the commercial sector. However, there are certain bright spots. So, for example, if people are in the senior living, that's a really good marketplace to be in. We're close to dying. Those of us, I shouldn't say that. I'm just being smart right now, but
that's okay. I'm here for it.
Yeah, exactly. But, for those of us that are over 60, it's a really different time. But, the interesting thing is the people that have money are over 60.
Yeah.
And so we still have a lot of people that have money and they're going to spend money on their houses. And I think sometimes, like for me, I think that I kind of follow some of the trends here, which is really interesting because it's very different than what people might expect. But for example, we're building a new house. And somebody said to me, "Are you downsizing?" I said, "No, we're actually upsizing. We're going from, 2,200 feet to 3,700 feet. So we are going to a bigger house because right now it's actually a pretty good time to build. And interestingly, we've seen a lot of things that the builders had to do just to get business this year. So anyway, I've been talking and talking.
No. So I have a couple of points. So one thing that I've seen in the last couple of years since COVID is people are adjusting with the economy. And I'm seeing it with our clients, and I experienced it in my personal life. So interest rates were too high to really justify, like my wife and I, for example, are buying another house or moving right now. So we instead went inward and we remodeled the kitchen. We did things like that to improve where we were. And that I have seen. And you mentioned you're building a house, you're doing that. And now we are, because our interest rates are coming down, looking at moving and building a house somewhere as well in the next year or two. So that is encouraging. I see that coming, and being interior designers, right? New houses, and you want to know something my wife told me last night. She said, if we do buy a new house, she says, I think we just need to hire a designer. I'm like, wait a minute.
What is she saying about your design skills?
No, she said, no. She says, I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want you to deal with it. I don't want you to have the headache or the hassle. I want someone else to project manage and do all that.
Right?
Yeah, right. So there you go. So we're looking in North Carolina. So designers in North Carolina.
Good.
I might be coming at you.
All right.
So that is encouraging. And again, we are dealing with a lot of what ifs and unknowns with today, right? And what's going to happen tomorrow. So what are some other of the biggest indicators that you saw coming from that survey?
So I'm going to take you outside of the survey again and go back to the data that I was talking about earlier with BizMiner. And one of the things I look at is what the financial data is saying about the industry. And here's a shocker. Guess what the net profit average was for all design firms in 2023?
Net profit?
Net profit. That's
cumulative total or per?
Yeah, cumulative, all the different companies, all 20,000 companies.
I would be guessing. I have no idea. Just what? Tell me.
3%.
Whoa. Holy
3%. And that's about half of what it was the year before. And it was even more the year before that.
I was going to say like 10% or something. Wow.
No. We haven't seen 10% for a while. So what's interesting, and there's the people, they're in one segment in particular, they had no profit, 0% profit. And it was in, I think, the 1 to 2.5 million range. So what it's telling me is there's a lot of price pressure on the designers. And I think part of that is they're charging less on their fees. They're not charging all the time that they have actually accrued on a project. They are feeling the pressure on pricing, so they're not doing the markups that they should have. And I don't think they have accounted for the cost of their operations that have gone up because the cost of operations have gone up. So they needed to raise their rates.
Well, of course, this is profit after payroll, paying yourself, hopefully it's 3% above paying yourself something decent, right? So, they're not going in the tank. Okay. So of course, this is what you do, right? You are a coach for interior designers to keep people from doing this, to make sure they're making profit and making markups. And So I've seen designers who have come to me who maybe are asking about their interior design and charging, who are sharing their discounts on things. And immediately that's kind of what I went to, people who are doing that and cutting that bottom line. But again, our clients are doing that to us. They're putting that pressure on us, right? So we're kind of caving to that. So how is an interior designer supposed to make 4%, right, profit in this market, or the 10, at least 10%? My goodness, 3% is so low.
3% is not sustainable for a business because you don't have any money. The 3% is before taxes.
That doesn't even keep up with inflation. Yeah.
By the time you pay for taxes, you really haven't made anything. So why are you doing the business? So let me give you an example. So,
sure, please.
We have data that I'm a data person. I have a finance degree, so I can't help myself.
I love it.
So during the summer, we always put together our boardroom data. So our boardroom is our group of people that are usually about $500,000 and above in revenue. And last year, the combined revenue was $84 million for our group. And our group did 13.3% net profit. So I will tell you that it has a lot to do with mindset, number one. And number two, you have to have the right strategy around your finances. Yeah. And if you don't, you'll be in that 0% or 3% range. And that is not a sustainable business. So to me, it's about understanding what it takes to run a profitable business. And I think one of the things that people need to do is have a real financial model for their business. And a lot of designers, I would tell you probably 80% of the people that come to us for coaching have never put together a budget.
Holy cow. I can't even imagine
I know. That. And every time I hear that, it just makes me cringe, because if you don't know what it costs to operate your business, how do you know how to make profit? How do you know how to mark it up?
The results of how many of those interior designers have their ducks in a row to that. It's because just from my experience, the designers that I have spoken to, worked with, that are having those issues, is just like I said before, are the ones who aren't doing something in a box, or who are attracting clients through their marketing or something, who are going to shop them, who are doing the smaller projects. So I think there's a lot of variables in there as well that I'm not sure how you're accounting for them, but it is difficult to account for.
Well, a couple of the problems that we're seeing, probably the biggest challenges that the designers were talking about in the survey, were their pipeline is dry, or the jobs they're getting are smaller, and they're just not making as much money on those. And in some cases, they're very tempted to take those smaller projects because they need to pay the bills and they've got team. So they're having to make some tough decisions. And I'm not going to say that this is going to last forever, but we have a cyclical business. And when we have economic pressures, and we have election pressures, and we have cost of living pressures, all of those things, we're going to have periods where we have downturns, and we have to be prepared for those, which means you have to make enough money when the time is good, and you need to save it and not spend it all. You need to have reserves in your business, at least 6 months reserves. And when it's highly volatile like it is now, a year of reserves would be the best thing. And for some people, that is like a pipe dream, because they do not even know how to get to the point where they actually have money in the bank that's theirs, which is a sad statement.
All right, you guys know, or at least I hope you know, or if you don't, I'm not doing my job, that we do full service social media management for you guys, interior designers, architects, and to the trade vendors or furnishing manufacturers, etc. But we are excited to announce our very new hybrid plan with Wingnut Social. It's kind of a half done for you, half you do it yourself sweet spot. If you're a beginning designer or a firm who's just really kind of getting started in social media marketing, but don't quite have the marketing budget to delegate it to a marketing firm, because that's a pretty decent size investment, right? This is our hybrid solution, and it's perfect for busy designers who the power of consistent professional content on Instagram. You've heard guest after guest and client after client say how they're getting leads from Instagram, right? But you have that overwhelm. You have no idea what to post, when to post, what the hashtags and captions should look like for a value proposition, a mix in order to reach your ideal client. Well, ta-da! Introducing the hybrid plan with Wingnut Social. You get a monthly content calendar where we create the content for you, and you post at your leisure on your own time with our guidance. We're doing the posts, we're doing feed posts, we're editing reels for you. You get 8 feed posts, 2 reels. We're writing the captions for you. We are researching the hashtags for you that drive engagement with guidance, best practices, and quarterly strategy sessions to make sure that your strategy and everything is in alignment with your business goals. So if you want to find out some more information on our amazing hybrid plan, it's been very popular so far. Head on over to wingnutsocial.com and hit up that Let's Chat button, and let's see how we can work together. Again, that's wingnutsocial.com. Yeah, that's one thing when I don't know if you're Yeah, you probably do. I think we talked about this. I was a cop in my previous life.
Right.
And that's a guaranteed paycheck. So it was one of the fears of leaving and going to not only own your own business, but a business that is a luxury like that, right? So like, what if World War III breaks out? Nobody's going to be remodeling their kitchens, right? I know, right? You can tell I have election anxiety.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you, girl.
Right. So what are what's some advice that you can give designers today, not knowing what's going to happen today or tomorrow, to help with that, besides, calling you up or going to your website and hiring you as a business
well, that would be a good
coach?
idea, but some people may not feel comfortable doing that right now because they're feeling like, I don't have the money, but sometimes you have to say, can I not afford this? Because if I can't fix my problem myself, I need to go get help. That's the rule of thumb I learned from one of my mentors. He said, if you're stuck for more than 3 days, you need to go find somebody else who can give you some advice.
100%.
So I think a couple of things. First of all, tighten the belt. You've got to tighten the belt right now and cut out all unnecessary expense. And some of those can be putting off photography until next year. And it can be waiting until you have a certain block of business to make certain investments in your business. Mm-hmm. Another thing I think people do is they double down on things where they can maybe be behind this little wall, a protective wall, and they go out and do all social media when they have to do some networking too, right? Yeah. Because social media, though it's great, is not necessarily a rifle approach, it's a shotgun approach. And so if you are desperate for business, you need to go out and network. You need to get busy with that and really go out there and build those relationships, meet those realtors, talk to the builders, and then go back to your old clients and see if they have projects, or even your current clients, and add on some scope of work to your current projects. So that's what you need to do in these really tight times. And then again, tighten the belt.
Yeah, the synergy is important, right? So not only, of course, Wingnut Social, we're a digital marketing agency, right? We do social media, and you can laser focus to some extent, but you are right in that it is a more broad brand awareness, growth, reach, and awareness, especially in the very beginning, right? The strategy part. But the networking, you have to also, as a human being, live human life form, you have to make those connections and go absolutely 100%. That all works together synergistically. So what are you seeing that the most successful designers are doing to overcome this piece, this economic piece? Are they just solely focusing on high-end people who just really don't care and want to spend money anyway? Or
well, the high end is definitely where people are still spending money.
Of course, always.
They're being very frugal, but they are still spending money. And if they, I would be looking for the people that have the money and be targeting those people like me who are older and, baby boomer generation. We've got the money. We can afford to do a lot of things. And I'm not the only one that's in this position. So find the work that is there. And if you're not in commercial, find the work that's there. It's in the senior living. It's in multifamily. But the multifamily, you don't have all firms that have the funding to go build those multifamily projects, but those are still relatively good overall. So I would really be looking at that and look at how can you diversify your business. But the other piece that I say over and over and over to people till they're sick of hearing it from me is you've got to be marketing when you're the busiest, because you cannot afford not to fill that future pipeline. Amen. So don't just count on one type of marketing. So digital's great. I think digital is important for you to have presence and to be doing that and to be investing in it. But the other piece is you've got to be balanced with the networking.
One thing that I did back in the day when I had my design firm was I did BNI. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And that actually got me a lot of contacts with realtors, attorneys, white collar professionals, for sure. And that was really cool to network with them. And I got Wingnut clients. I got design clients from that. That was, that is super important as well, to make sure that you're being a real live human being. Go to High Point, which you just came from, and start meeting people that can help you, coaches such as yourself. So what do you think is keeping designers stuck? Like, is there, you mentioned a mindset. Okay. You did mention mindset, but what piece of that mindset is keeping designers from getting out of that dismal 3%. My goodness, I heard that makes my heart sink.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel a lot better about my numbers.
I think that it's, I don't know, this is so hard. In the mindset area, we have a lot of people that have imposter syndrome. Yeah. And if you listen to one of my podcasts with the editor of Business of Home, she has imposter syndrome, which I thought was fascinating. And so everybody has it to an extent. So you have to overcome that and just get into action no matter what. I think also there's fear of success and there's fear of failure. And sometimes fear of success can be as hard as fear of failure. Mm-hmm. And people have this tendency to go internal and maybe be a little bit hesitant to go out and market when they're a little bit nervous about things. And sometimes they feel like, oh, I'm being salesy. Well, guess what? How are you? If you can't sell, you're not going to be in business. So you better get over it and
unfortunately,
get out there and learn how to sell, because this is part of you having the confidence in yourself. And you've got to find that confidence. And if you don't have it, then find somebody who can coach you into it. And have them give you a pep talk before you have those big conversations. And then the other thing is to put enough time into your marketing. And we usually say 10 hours a week. If you're a smaller firm, and the larger you get, the more people you have on the team helping you with marketing. Yeah, but it's an absolute minimum of about 10 hours a week. Especially for smaller firms, And
that could be 10 hours just on the social side, easy. At the very minimum, it's insane the amount of work it takes to put out a healthy campaign.
Correct. Yes, so, and if you're without business right now, spend 30 or 40 hours a week. You need to market until you start seeing the pipeline start filling up.
Yeah, and I love that you said that if you're busy, don't stop your marketing, because it is, I think maybe we spoke about this on your show, I can't recall, but if it's the slinky dog effect, right? You're like busy, but because you didn't market those 6 months, that next year, you're like, where did all my pipeline go? And then you're playing catch up. And
you look backwards and you look at what was on your calendar, and that'll tell you what happened.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. It's like Coca-Cola doesn't stop advertising, right? For a reason. Yeah. What else can we speak to as far as what you're seeing going on in this economic time, and what designers can do to improve their situation?
Well, I think that for some people, they're a little afraid of hiring, but if you hire the right people on your team, you can actually make more money. Oh, yeah. So I think that's important. But if you're not ready to make a full-time person, then outsource. There are outsourcing companies that can help you with a lot of the work that you need to have done. And then you don't have the overhead. It is more of it's a flexible spend. So you spend when you've got it, and you don't spend when you don't have it, and you don't have the projects. So to me, that's a really good way to make it through these weird times that we're going through. Yeah. And then the other thing is, and I think this is really important, and I'm sure you probably would agree with me on this. You need a plan to market. You shouldn't just figure out, okay, my tactic is I'm going to go do social media, and that's going to solve all my problems and bring me all my business. Well, no, it's not. So you need to have a full plan, and at least 90 days ahead, know, what am I doing? Who am I reaching out to? How many people am I calling? How many networking events am I going to? How many posts am I making through my social media efforts? You need to have a plan, and you need to work the plan. And if the plan's not working, then you need to go back and look at it and say, okay, what is working out of this? Do more of that and stop doing the things that don't work.
Yeah, that's one thing. I've had designers who have come to us and said, can you just start posting for me? And we don't. We don't do any social. We don't do any marketing until we've done the research and the strategy piece, because it's an investment and you want a return on it, right? We need to know where we're going. We're not just going to throw up photos. Anyone out of college can do that. Yeah. So it's super important to know and to have that plan, at least mapped out for 90 days, if not 6 months to a year. Yeah. I want to go back to something you said. I put my notes here, and I had a menopause moment, and I realized I wanted to ask
You're not that old.
I'm 56. Oh,
so
Thank you. Thank you so much. I must thank my doctor. So, fear of success is fascinating to me. Yeah. And also imposter syndrome. I have that. I've had that. I've had it to worse degrees, bigger degrees.
Not you.
Absolutely. Everybody. Right. But yeah, absolutely. Fear of success is something that really hits home with me because, and I think I've kind of through listening to people and reading or whatever, I think I've solved it for me. In a way, not saying I still don't have it, but it's the fear of the unknown, right? So now, I'm successful, right? But of course I want to be, you're scaling or you want to do something else, right? But to grow or to be more successful, I mean, I'm moderately successful. I don't mean to sound like it, but is that you just don't know, right? It's that fear of the unknown. You want to stay in your comfort zone regardless. Or let's say if you have a bad habit, it's like if you want to lose 20 pounds, which is another thing I want to do, but you're comfortable where you are and it serves you for whatever reason. You can use it to make excuses or to not do, right? So if you go into that other realm of that where you think you want to go, it's scary to you because you don't live there yet. It's unknown. So I think that's part of the psychological issue of that. Do I sound like a crazy lady or is that making sense?
No, it's so true. And the thing is, and you've heard this statement before, I'm sure many times, but you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And if you are comfortable, then you are not growing. So if you are growing, you are going to be uncomfortable. You need to accept that fact that is the way you grow. Yeah. The biggest decisions I've made in my business, and I've pivoted many times in this one and my last business, every time I do the things that seem really risky and scary, and I'm nervous and I can't sleep at night because I'm thinking, oh my God, what if this fails? Yeah. Those are the ones that work. And so I would tell you that every time you push yourself beyond, that's when you have those breakthrough moments. And if you don't have that butterfly in your stomach feeling, then you're not pushing yourself hard enough.
That's true.
So if you want to be comfortable, go work for somebody. Seriously.
Right? Go have that guaranteed paycheck. That's right. That's why at the end of every podcast, I say, go out there, get uncomfortable and be great because you have to do that. And I do that daily. I do stuff that I'm just like, cause I'm an introvert, and I'm just like, and I get anxiety about things, but I do it anyway. And thank God I did. Thank God I did all the stuff I did. Sure. And I absolutely, if you're scared to do it, do it. Just
that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Gail, is there anything else that we should address here on this topic before we get into the fire round?
Well, I would just say to all of the people listening to this podcast, believe in yourself because you can do this. And number 2, whatever is painful to you, try one thing that's uncomfortable every single day and get a little bit of habit going with that. And then all of a sudden you're going to find that you have the capacity to do even more than you thought you could. Get help if you need to, because it is not always easy to do things on your own. I still have a coach. I always have a coach. And I believe that if I want to get to the next level, that's what it takes to get there. So for me, it's really, and it's not to be self-serving here, but I'm just saying whoever it is, find somebody that you trust and that has success and has helped people be successful and go get that help. Don't be ashamed of that. And it really is about knowing that we need a team with us. We need a team to do everything. And that's working alone in this business can be very lonely.
I mean, Tony Robbins has a coach. Yeah. Right? I think every successful person does. I'm in between coaches right now. But
well, I know a good one.
I do too. I'm looking right at her. All right, Gail Doby. Now I have to ask you, are you ready for the What Up Wingnut?
I'm ready.
What would the hashtag on your tombstone be?
Peace out.
I love it. You're stuck on a deserted island, but you can have your one favorite food forever. What is it?
Meatballs.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And please recommend a book that has impacted you on a personal or professional level.
Oh, gosh, I read a lot. I've put a little bit of that on the back burner lately, but one of the best books I read over last Christmas that was so good is Arete. Arete, and it's by Brian Johnson. Highly recommend it for people who are struggling with mindset. It's a very thick book, but the chapters are 2 or 3 pages long. So you can read a chapter a day of 2 or 3 pages, and you will get such great ideas and insights. It is just It's a nightstand book. You should have it handy.
Really?
And yeah, if you're struggling, just arete. Just read it. It's so good.
And 2 or 3 pages a day, I can handle that, even with my ADHD.
Yeah, even with 5 minutes, you can read enough that it will probably kickstart your day.
I love it. Gail Doby, please tell the listeners where they can go to find out more about you, about your amazing podcast, The Pearl Collective, and we'll call it a day.
Okay. Go see us at www.thepearlcollective.com. And our podcast is Creative Genius. And you'll find us on all the typical stations, Spotify, iTunes, all of that.
I love that you said www. That's so cute.
You can edit that one out if you want to.
Gail Doby, thank you so much for joining us.
That was my pleasure. Thanks, Darla.
Let me tell you something, guys. You could do a whole hell of a lot worse than reaching out to Gail Doby to help you with your interior design business. I loved her insight. She is a brilliant, brilliant woman. And I am in between coaches. And I got to tell you, Gail, I am sorely tempted to engage you for ongoing business coach for my business, for my life, for my whole existence of being. I love you. I'm super impressed with you. And it's no wonder that you have received the accolades and reviews and the feedback that you have in the interior design industry. Well done. Well done. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to reach out to Gail if you need some help. If you don't want to be one of the only 3%, right, profitability, that's just shocking to me. Wow. You guys, if you are at that level or worse, really need to invest in your business, invest in a business coach, invest in the proper marketing. Go to thepearlcollective.com and reach out to Gail Doby. And as a reminder, Wingnut Social, that is what we do. Marketing for interior designers, most primarily in the social media realm, but SEO, Google ads. Head on over to wingnutsocial.com and see how we can work together. All right, guys, that is it for this week. Remember, until next time, to get out there, get uncomfortable, grow, and be great. What is the state of the interior design industry in 2024 after High Point Market? Right? Today's guest, Gail Doby, this is too long for a teaser.